Well, welcome to our week ahead, our astrology transits. This is Astro Breeze, Carrie, and we are going to look at this. And I've been messing with my aspect lines. I'm going to leave them on for a little while. Um, I just got to work with the orbs. It's some of the software is just not user friendly. The help guide and the videos, it's like, anyway. So I just wanted to let you see some of the aspects that we have from day to day right now. And this is going to be one of those weeks. Let's mark it down in your calendar. And for many, many ways. I mean, we've got so much. But one thing we can gauge it with is, politics. We have the Democratic National Convention starting, what is it, the end of the week? Like what, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something, Sunday, Monday. I forget the exact days, but and then we have our full moon. We're culminating into a full moon in Aquarius next Monday. And the aspects are busy and a lot of them are in place already. So I want you to see just to start and get your eyes kind of peeled to looking at these cycles. These are bigger cycles, although we have, the close aspects of things happen in a day, but yet they're cycles. So let's look at a few of them. Let's start with well, what's drawn my attention at the moment is Mercury. Mercury is just, it's retrograde, right? And it's just here at the last degree of Virgo before it's going to go back into Leo. So Mercury likes to be in Virgo, that's its sign, its home sign. Plus it's exalted there. And this is like tough conversations. So we have, Mercury in 0 degrees Virgo and in conjunct or the quincunx over to Pluto, 0 degrees, and then over to Neptune, the two outer planets here at 29. It's only a degree away. So as Mercury retros back, it'll get even tighter on the Neptune. And what did we have last night? I didn't hear it yet because it didn't get going till late, but President Trump and Elon Musk talked, interviewed. And I heard today that there was 1 billion views or tune-ins. And that's like an eighth of our planet. And you think about maybe there'll be another billion of people like me that will watch it later. And if you think, all right, 2 billion, 2 out of 8 billion, that's a fourth of the planet. So these things are powerful, and look at we've got going on. We've got this quincunx Mercury bringing up, the stuff from Pluto, bringing up this stuff and, trying to have a new visionary with Neptune. So I think that conversation was very interesting with this aspect in place. It's like both of those planets, those outer planets are sextile, so it's like the big heavy hitters. It's like, okay, we've got depth to go through and we've got a new vision ahead, Neptune and Pluto, but then they're bearing down with a uncomfortable or not quite on the same page yet, but willing to have a conversation of Mercury. So that's just one example. It's just top of my head. I'm sure there's zillions more, but this is where we can use some of these things to gauge what's going on. All right. That being said, that's happening. I don't want to look so much at the moon and things like that because they're fast, but we also have, a kind of a closing in. Well, it just depends on, we've got Pluto retrograde and then we still have Uranus forward. We have a trine there, out of orb trine. Is it? Yeah, because this was just at the end of that one. Okay, so if we think about that, it's like if it doesn't make sense to you, think Aquarius, air, but it's just a hair away from being in an earth sign. So then you go earth to earth. There's the trine, right? So you're off by a few degrees, but nonetheless, more outer planets activity. So we have big depth, depth of big things, delving into the depths of things, earthy, practical. So we have, again, this is mundane astrology. This is what's going on for all. And if you have things at this degree, or also look where, these signs are in your chart, and you can get what conversation these houses are having for you as well. Okay. And And then here, more outer planet. Look at Neptune is in that little, it's the midpoint of being in the middle of Pluto and Uranus, right? Look at there. Sextile to one, sextile the other, trine to the other. Look at that. Okay, so that's all these outer planets are having kind of good conversations, which is good. This is very good. Okay, and then we have Mercury, making some squawking and getting some information out. Mercury's messenger, it doesn't mind. It moves fast, so we'll go past that. But nonetheless, that's kind of interesting. And then we have a bunch of squares and squares and a half. I'm going to look at those. I'll look at the squares that we'll have coming up over here with the Venus. But let's move on. What we can also look at over on this part of the chart is today we have that conjunction of Mars and Jupiter. So it takes Mars, like it's a 2-year cycle around the sun. And it will be there, we'll have that like every 2 years, right? But this is where it's in Gemini. And what's interesting, the last time we had a Mars Jupiter conjunction in Gemini was 1942. And that's when the United States retaliated to Japan, actually flew the bombs over there, from when we got hit on Pearl Harbor. So that was the last action of that, the last time. And look what we're facing now. We are on the brink of some nasty stuff with all the Middle Eastern countries, all that stuff I'm not going to go into it because it's a YouTube channel, but there's some nefarious things. There's some old players that are involved that have always been involved. And yeah, follow the money, basically. That's all I'm going to say. I want to just keep this astrology, but it's there nonetheless. I just want to point it out. And then the time, I should say, the earliest time, the time before the next one, I went back to. Okay, so the one right before this one was 1989, and the one before that one was 1942. The 1989 one was when the Berlin Wall fell. In Gemini, right? A wall dividing two things. So this is very interesting. So it also means like fortunate action. Okay, so this can go two ways. I just wanted to give you both of them. So fortunate Jupiter, action Mars. So this could be a good time to initiate some kind of a new action of cycle. It's physical, it's expanding. It can be very busy. And then that kind of dovetails again, what rules Gemini? Mercury's in this tight conversation with two of these outer planets here. So wow, we can kind of track things back. Let me say that again. We have to look at the ruler of certain areas. So we go, we have this conjunction in Gemini, and you think what rules or what planet rules Gemini? And you say Mercury rules it. That's the ruler of it. And we go look and see what type of shape Mercury's in. And Mercury's being pinned down, with deep conversation, a quincunx 150 degrees from two of the outer planets. So it's getting reamed. Its butthole's getting reamed. We got information from the depths and moving toward something illusory, but yet futuristic. We got to have the dream where we're going, but yet we have to look at the past to see where we've been so we don't go back. We don't get so intoxicated with the future that we step back in the same mud. So that's that cycle kind of setting up. And this is today, we have this conjunction. So it's think about it in a good way. Fortunate action. And look and see where this is in your chart, where 16 degrees Gemini, what house that's in, if you have a correct birth time. And that will let you know where that action is. And if you have any planets at 16 degrees, it will be making different aspects to that, of course. So that's interesting. Well, let's move on. Let's do it's bigger. Okay, I think you can see the 14th. Let me just give you a new share real quick in case I didn't do that right. I think. Okay, you should be able to see the screens. 14th. I thought I had an animate. All right, well, we can see all these lines. They're still there. Okay, we're used to seeing it now. We got Mercury still in that quincunx. Now we starting to pick up on Venus going to be in an awkward position near the end of the week as we get closer to the full moon. But you can see here 11 degrees Virgo, and it's being opposed, or it's going to oppose Saturn. Here it's at 17. So you'll know, okay, here's 6 degrees away, and Venus is moving, degree and a half a day. Let me just show you real quick. Go the next day, went from 11 to 13 in one day. Is 2 degrees, probably, one something. And then we go on, look at there, and it goes past it. So anyway, it'll be like late on the 18th, we'll go back, but just so you can see, I'm trying to get these lines set where as the aspect gets closer, the line gets thicker. You think it would be easy. But Mercury retro right now, right? It is for one thing. Okay, so anyway, here. So that's the next thing coming in, and that's kind of interesting. Anything Saturn, at least it's not conjunct. That's different, and then the opposition. But the conjunction in the square of Saturn is a little bit more dour. But I think the opposition kind of gives us a little bit more of maybe put some structure in things that we like, or in maybe you're making an investment, or you're buying something, or you're making a decision, or you're putting money in on something, and it's maybe putting a positive structure. Let's keep it that way. Because then we also have, as Venus gets closer to that opposition, it will then start to, you can see, look at your mind should be going, oh, 17 degrees. Oh, those conjunctions you just talked about were 16. So you'll know that Venus, as Venus gets closer to 17, will be making something over to the 16, right? And then we just have to ask ourselves real quick, what is that? So we go, oh, mutable. Oh, mutable, mutable. So anything in the same cardinal fixed mutable in the same quality will always be like square to itself, square to something. So if you have something mutable, anything else immutable will be square to it, or opposition, I should say, square opposition. Okay, so look, we have having a T-square with Venus and Saturn and Jupiter and Mars. Mars will actually move on a little bit. It'll move past that by the time we get over there. We'll see. But I just want you to, well, let's do it. Let's do it. Look at, by the time we get to then, you see how much Mars moves to 19 degrees, and we have the stuff at like 16, 17. So it kind of moves out of orbit a little bit, but it's still there. The influence is still there. All right. Yeah, so going in tomorrow, we see that we're building into this. We see that we have now, yesterday, or actually later today, on the east of United States, we'll have the moon moving into, let's go back, into Sag. Yeah, right about now, maybe an hour ago, this moved into Sag. So the feeling should be a little lighter, a little more expansive, a little more shiny object syndrome. The grass is greener, maybe intrigued with something different or foreign, expansive, Jupiterian, which is going to just dovetail nicely with the Jupiter-Mars conjunction. Ooh, isn't that nice? We get at least a little bit of a moon in Jupiter to kind of reflect, even, it's opposition to that, the moon, Sagittarius, opposition to Jupiter and Mars in Gemini, but we still have that expansiveness. And sometimes, I don't think oppositions are as bad as squares or semi-squares or squares and a half. They're kind of like, they suck for the most part. I mean, every now and then you get one that is really tough, but they kind of can be balancing. So I like to tend to think as oppositions not only as opposing, but could be balancing. But then we also have open enemies as well. So it depends on what houses they fall in your chart. So anyway, we can see this stuff building. We can go back to the ruling planets to just get us a little bit more what's going on. All right, so that's that. And let's move on to Wednesday. Okay, we talked about that. That's, you can see that we talked about that. It's building. There we go. Now on Thursday or late the day before, late Wednesday, depending on where you're at, Mercury moves back into Leo. Yeah, tough to give you that. So Mercury, yeah, it was on Wednesday late. Mercury goes back into Leo. So now we could have a little drama, which is going to add some spice to this. Like, we really need more spice. But like, look at the square and a half that like pick up to certain things. Like, this is to the north node. We have Venus over here to Pluto, square and a half. And it just kind of gets messy. And we got more of these, the squares from Uranus over to Mercury, because as Mercury goes back, it's going to square Uranus. Oh dear. Okay, so let's watch. Okay, let's look and see. Okay, what's going on? So here, Friday, we're coming into Friday, and we got then our moon moves into Capricorn, and we got a little dourness, or seriousness, and that will kind of dovetail in. Okay, so you think what rules Capricorn? It's like Saturn. Where's Saturn? Saturn is opposing Venus. So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer about it. But there could be just like some things, that we got to be a little bit more, we got to put in order and do a little work and responsibility maybe before we can play. And there's maybe a lot of stuff to do. And yeah, let's just leave it at that. And then we could see, but there's like the surprise with Uranus over to actually, the sun, the sun is going to be moving into the square. It's like 24 degrees, and as it gets 2 degrees more, it'll move into square. Surprise. And then Mercury as well. So they're both within orb of surprise, and it's a tough surprise here. We got a drama. We've got a tug of war. They're in fixed signs. And as Mercury gets closer to the heart of the sun, the Cassini, where it's swallowed up by the sun, it kind of swallowed up and regurgitated, in a dramatic way. It's like, whoa, did I just see what I thought I saw, kind of, or hear what I think I heard, kind of coming out, because we have the surprise planet Uranus getting closer to all that. So what do we hear? It's Friday. And there we go. On Saturday, we got Mercury making the exact square. Mars is starting to separate a little bit over here, but yet we still have the square, of Jupiter to Saturn as well. So Jupiter, Saturn, that's now, I got to give you a little background on that. That one's coming into what it's Saturday, coming into perfection. But this is again a cycle, okay? Saturn is a lot longer than Jupiter. Jupiter takes 12 years to go through all the signs. Saturn takes 29 years, more than twice the amount of time. So if you remember in the end of 2019, very beginning of 2020, we had the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. It was in Aquarius. So it started that new cycle. Okay. And now we're getting to the first opening square. So this is kind of like a first marker point. This is going to continue to widen. We'll get the trine, then we'll get the, quincunx, we'll get the opposition over the next, years ahead. But we can see now we're at the opening square, and we can see, we've got an opening. I mean, we got this push-pull, a square. We got Jupiter in expanding, it's expansive planet, it's fortune, it wants to make bigger and enlargen. And then Saturn wants to constrict, it wants to trim the fat, it wants to get rid of excess. And we need to do both of these things. You have to get rid of old stuff that's serving no purpose, that's you're not using, that is no good for you anymore, or for everyone, and invite in what's necessary. So this is a push-pull that we're facing in the whole world. And if you have anything here at the exact 17, then it's going to be more important for you, or it's going to ring truer for you. And then you have to see, of course, what aspects that square makes to those planets in your chart, but also look to see what houses that's playing, that square is playing off. Even if you don't have anything there, you will still have those houses involved. Like if it's your first house and fourth house, that's like your identity in your home. If it's the first house and 10th house, it's like your own identity and how people see you, your occupation in the world, or your status. If it's 7th house, 10th house, it could be your partnerships versus your work, or 4th house, 7th house, your home versus your partners. So we can have conflicts, squares are conflict of those areas. So, it's good to think to find where that's at in your chart. I just gave you a few just to give you a little idea. Okay, gotta take a deep breath here. I think we've got a lot of it here talked out. All right, so Saturday, um, well, the moon moves into, at the end of the day, it moves into Aquarius, and that will kind of get us going now for setting into the full moon. So, all right. We've already talked about all of those things, so let's just flip on ahead because there's not as much of that. Well, we do have the sun. We talked about that. The sun is going to be conjunct. That's when it's in Cassini there at 26 degrees, and that's look at that's gets squaring Uranus. And so is Mercury just squared it coming into, and then it's like it gets swallowed up by the sun. So this could be very interesting. This could, this is again, I'm sensing some really radical stuff with this at the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. It seems to me like it's going to mirror a lot of the stuff that happened at the DNC in Chicago, where it is this year, in 1968. So, we've got kind of anarchist type energy happening. And then, with the full moon in Aquarius, which is, Aquarius can get very militant. It can get very Marxist. It can get it wants to break the restrictiveness of Saturn, but yet it's like no holds barred. It's like it throws the bathwater, the baby out with the bathwater. That's the kind of energy that is. So we're moving into that. So also be careful of that stuff in your life, that you don't throw everything away, that you don't isolate people, just kind of hold your tongue, let things pass, and then deal with it maybe next week. All right. Dun, 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 dun. All right. So here we are with the full moon. So we've got Venus in our square to expansive Jupiter. And again, it's later in the day. If I go back a few hours, which I'll show you, and then we'll get the moon right. There it is. Okay, so we got the exact, here it's 1717. I like when I'm trying to get that way so you can see it. And then here's where you can see the T-square. Dun, 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 dun. Except here now it clicked a little bit out of orb, and it should be here too. This one should be there, but it's not. That's what I'm still trying to tweak with this software. I'm like, just, want it to be in as it's separating a little bit. I guess if I go, maybe I can go back a few minutes and get them both. That'd be good. I want to wait for that to. Will it do it? Will it do it? Will it do it? Oh, it's doing forever. Maybe do an hour. It's not, is it? Dang. Frustrating stuff. All right. There we go. I still got the square. Okay, I think I got it there. Well, let me look at there because I'm going to show you something else in a minute. All right, so we can see now here's the opposition, Venus here. And then what was that? But here, look, we lost the square. It's not showing me the square. Oh, wait, no, there it is. Okay, yeah, there it is right there. Okay, good. Yay, there it is. Nice big. It should look like they call it a T-square, but it looks like a triangle. But what we have here is this opposition, right? Saturn, Venus, and then we have Saturn square Jupiter, and then Venus square Jupiter. So that's our square, and then here's our opposition. So what's the stressed planet? Jupiter. It's being squared by Saturn. That's that push-pull, and then it's being squared by Venus. So this is interesting because the square here of Venus to Jupiter it's not as nasty as other things. I think it puts a little bit of maybe reins or a little bit of forethought into expenditures, into spending, or into business ventures or venues or relationship. It's maybe being just a teeny bit cautious. You're like not throwing caution to the wind. You're like maybe checking. It's like, is this a good deal? That's what they said, but let me check over here to make sure, kind of a thing. So this is very interesting. I kind of like that. And then I like the fact that Mars kind of separated. So it's kind of, we have some action still, but it's not as aggressive. But yet, other ways, as we're coming into that from the 18th to the 19th, I think it can be really wily or riled up kind of energy. Yeah. All right. So we've got Venus, we just talked about that, and then we've got the Sun square Uranus, which that's what kind of worries me, the surprise. Leo, something magnanimous is going to be tried to be rolled out or something, but I think it's going to fail. I think there's going to be a lot of I don't know, I think there's going to be a lot of chaos within that. And then the moon is going to move into Pisces just soon after that. So let's go to the actual when the moon, we're at I think it's 27 degrees. We'll see it here. 26, 27, moon, almost. Keep your eye on the moon, waiting for it to go 27. There it is. Okay. So we could see the moon, and now I'm just going to get rid of the stuff for you. I think it's going to get rid of it. No, it won't do it. Okay, never mind. Anyway, the moon here is opposite the sun. See? Go back. I want to get that in there for you so you can see it. I mean, you can see it in there. It's not going to do it. Darn thing. All right. Anyway, you can see that there's the opposition of 27, 27. So, oh, cool. 222, more or less. So yeah, we've got here's our actual key point there. So a lot is going on, a lot is building up, and then here we still have Venus over here with Jupiter, and then we still have the sun, it didn't go away, just my aspect thing. The sun still square over to Uranus. Yeah. So anyway, these aspects build. It's a very interesting week. Let me get off of that and go to the next day, which will be when we meet up again. And we're still kind of not out of the woods, but yet a lot of things will start to pass, and we'll have a little bit, I mean, other things will be happening, but this intense energy will have changed a little bit. So let's see if I want to, yeah, all right. So that's pretty much it on this week. It's intense. Again, I think we should, I'm finding myself, so much is getting me irritated and so much is making me upset. And, I don't have a whole lot of it dinging on me perfectly. I mean, I got some good parts of this, but it's still an intense week. It's still an intense aspect, or many aspects. And I think just gauging it accordingly, this is the time to count to 5 before you say anything or do anything, and say, okay, let me breathe, take a couple breaths, count to 5, and then, especially if it's anything negative, and then react. And I have to remember those words. Yeah, I'm so Aries, it just comes out sometimes. I can't put my hands in front of my mouth fast enough. Sometimes, like, my tongue is warped from biting it. But anyway, it's that kind of energy this week, and we just try to have a sense of humor about it. My uncle told me, he goes, I got 2 rules. I said, what's that? Uncle Bob, he goes, first rule, don't sweat the small stuff. That's good. Second rule, everything's the small stuff. Like, I don't know if I totally buy that, but I guess you can kind of come with that from some points of view. So I think about that in different times, because when sometimes events pass, it seems like, wow, why did I get so worked up about that? So anyway, that's it for today. That's all I got. I mean, I could go on and on and on for hours, but I don't want to beat a dead horse or drag a dead horse. What's a horrible expression, right? I don't want to make worse of it. So anyway, it's dynamic, it's energetic. It's just important to maybe channel and use that energy. It's all energy. So again, I think the breath, before, the inhale, count to 5, hold your breath, a couple deep breaths will bring oxygen to your head to maybe help you make a better sentence or a clearer decision on something. All right, I hope that is helped y'all hold on, and we'll re-meet next week. All right, bye for now.